This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. I'm Jo Reed. I have Kendra Winchester with me, and I'm curious how you're going to bring these 4 days to a close, Kendra.
Well, we have a novel that's set partially in an apartment in London and partially in Australia. So once again, we have a location in rural Australia. And this is The Echoes by Evie Wyld. And this is read by Sebastian Humphreys and Vivien Carter. And
Oh,
it really starts out with Max. He discovers that he's dead and he's haunting his apartment. And the first line is something along the lines of, I didn't believe in ghosts, but that became a problem once I realized I was haunting my apartment. And I just became absorbed in Sebastian Humphrey's performance of Max in this apartment. And that's, away we go into the audiobook. It was such a great experience.
well, Evie Wyld writes these complicated books. They're so structurally intricate.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. So Max is watching his girlfriend, who still lives in the apartment. He watches her during the wake, and he begins to realize as he's sitting there as a ghost, that no one can see, that he really didn't know her very well. Hannah's from Australia. She came over to London and doesn't talk about her past, doesn't talk about where she's from. He's never even met her family, and he was considering proposing, and he didn't even know that much about her background. So we have these chapters that alternate, one from Max's perspective and one from Hannah and her various family members. And so we learn about Hannah's past that way. And slowly but surely, we piece together in this very nonlinear way Hannah's background. And we eventually learn that her family has the connections to a residential school, air quotes, in Australia, where Indigenous children were taken. And all of that unfolds in the novel, and it just, like you said, it's very intricate in its structure.
It must be very satisfying when it all comes together.
Yes, it's like a puzzle. You're
Yeah.
just putting them together, and you start seeing the pieces come together, and eventually you find out why Hannah has never gone back and will never really talk to her family again.
Now let's talk about the narrators, Sebastian Humphreys and Vivien Carter. I know his work from the Chef Paul Delamore series by Orlando Murin. I mean, and he's really, I thought he was really kind of fabulous.
Yes, I loved him as Max. Max speaks in first person, and so he really just embodied Max as a character, really captured the essence of who Max was as this very funny ghost sitting in this apartment watching, Hannah live her life. So while it is very sad, there's that balance of humor there that's needed for his chapters.
And Vivien?
Vivien, I really loved her in Hannah's chapters in particular. I felt like she really understood Hannah as a character. And there are so many characters that Vivien Carter performs, some I think more successful than others, but overall, I really enjoyed her performance of these characters who come from, a wide range of walks of life in Australia. And they're all so different. But through the story, we find out how their stories are all tied together.
And we're going to hear a clip. Who are we going to hear from?
So we are going to hear from Sebastian Humphreys as he performs Max's perspective. This is, I believe, early on when he's figured out he's a ghost.
Okay. This is The Echoes by Evie Wyld, read by Sebastian Humphreys and Vivien Carter. We're going to hear from Sebastian.
I float to the top corner of our bedroom, a vantage point I never knew in life. I watch as the flat becomes the home of others, the moths, the spiders, the silverfish, the dust motes, and then the leftovers of the dead before me, the people who left parts of themselves dropped through the floorboards. I am the man who left small shopping lists. I am he of the forgotten capellini in the back of the cupboard, the beard shavings sitting in the U-bend of the sink, and the cashews that fell under the appliances when I opened them roughly and they scattered on the floor, and rather than sweep them up, I kicked them to the corners of the room. Hannah will be the earring that she cried over when it was lost. It is down in the U-bend with my beard trimmings, safe in a nest. And the coppers whose jar she dropped and smashed so they spilled out, and £1.26 went behind the washing machine to corrode and turn green. Tumbleweed of hair and dust. Eyelashes with their pinch of skin at the end. Szechuan peppercorns, enough to fill the gap between your lifeline and your heartline. Only the clothes moths move the air in the flat.
Okay, that is compelling writing, and what a narration. I mean, the
Right. Ugh,
rhythm of it is perfect. You're just kind of taken up into this journey with him.
yes. It's so absorbing
And
and
what a great voice.
ugh, I loved it. I think he did such a phenomenal job with Max as a character, and I love the writing, and it just seemed like the perfect pairing.
Mhm. I'm definitely listening to this for sure. That is The Echoes by Evie Wyld, read by Sebastian Humphreys and Vivien Carter. Great suggestion. Great way to close out your week. Kendra, thank you so much.
Of course, I love chatting about audiobooks.
I love chatting about audiobooks too. Thank you. I'll talk to you next
All right,
month.
looking forward to it.
Support for Behind the Mic comes from HarperCollins Leadership, publisher of the newly updated audiobook Fearless: The New Rules for Unlocking Creativity, Courage, and Success by Rebecca Minkoff, featuring an exclusive bonus podcast available everywhere you get your audiobooks. And don't forget, tomorrow we are having our first Earphone Awards roundup on Behind the Mic. AudioFile's Laura Rossi is going to join me to talk about 3 of the latest Earphone Award winning titles. So be sure to listen. I'm Joe Reed, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.